Texas A&M and Auburn kicks off in just over 24 hours, and we've got some bold predictions for the game for you on Saturday.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are Locked On the Texas A&M Aggies. I am your host, Matt Galatzan of Texas A&M Aggies on SI. Thank you for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda. Move and be moved. DJ, we're 24 hours from kickoff, give or take. Texas A&M is taking on the Auburn Tigers at Kyle Field. Kickoff is set for 2:30 p.m. It's a big one. Texas A&M's coming off a massive win over Notre Dame. And this is typically the time that many Aggies begin to suffer from battered Aggie syndrome. They fear a letdown after a big win. I don't think that's going to happen. I made my pick yesterday. I think I picked Auburn to cover, but I picked Texas A&M to win. It's going to be a good game. Auburn is extremely talented, and they pose some problems for Texas A&M, but I still think the Aggies are going to come out on top. It's time to make some bold predictions, though. I think, because we've talked about the game this week. We've broken down some things and whatever. Now let's make some bold predictions here, DJ. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say that Mario Craver not only breaks 100 yards this week, but he goes over 150 through the air in receiving yards against a really good Auburn defense.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what Craver could do last week, over 200 yards, or I guess not last week, 2 weeks ago, against Notre Dame, and he had over 200 yards. It looked like he was just doing whatever he wanted on that field. If he wanted the ball, he was going to get it. I definitely could see that happening again in this game. But my question about Craver is, how long is this success sustainable? I mean, he's been on this awesome streak. He's had over 100 yards every game. My question is, it's got to stop at some point. It's just which game.
Yeah. It does have to stop at some point. I don't know that it's necessarily sustainable to. I'm looking up his receiving yards right now. So he ranks. He's third in the nation in receiving yards with 443. He's averaging 22.15 yards per catch, 147.7 yards per game. And the two guys above him have both played an extra game. One of them has 16 more catches than he does, and it's only 2 extra yards that he has ahead of Mario Craver. And then the other one has 8 more receptions than him and only 13 more yards through the air. So he's having just an absolutely unreal season, and it's really not fair to expect him to keep that up. That being said, if you look at the rest of Texas A&M's schedule, it's going to stop somewhere along this. You got the Florida defense, which is very good. Arkansas may be able to do it again. Mississippi State, you may be able to do it again. And then you get the LSU defense, which is one of the best in the country. The Texas defense at the end of the year, if it lasts that long, I'll be shocked. But they're one of the best in the country. In terms of Auburn, they rank 103rd in pass defense. Or that's pass offense, excuse me. Let me go back and redo that one. Auburn ranks 91st in pass defense. So they can be got. I think it just continues for one more week. What do you got for me, DJ?
I think Auburn's defense completely shuts down the Texas A&M rushing attack. It's been something that, last year they leaned on the rushing attack. This year they kind of moved back because you have these explosive guys like Craver and Concepcion on the edge. But Auburn's allowed just 58.3 yards per game this year. That's best in the SEC. I think that A&M's going to try and get their run game going. I just think they're not going to be able to do what they want to do and what they're used to doing.
Okay. I think I agree with you. Now, are you saying the running backs or the running game in general?
The running back specifically. I think Marcel Reed's going to be able to, sneak one out, bust a 20-yard scramble here and there. But
Okay.
specifically the running backs aren't going to be able to have the day that A&M fans are used to have them having.
Okay. That's not a terrible prediction there, because Auburn is a pretty dang good defense. They completely shut down the Oklahoma rushing attack, which honestly wasn't, anything special to begin with, but they rank 5th in the country against the run. They give up 58.25 yards per game. And that was against, one of those games was against a really good offense in Baylor. So we'll kind of have to see. I think I can see that happening. Ball State and South Alabama obviously aren't, big threats on the ground. Oklahoma, the running backs aren't fantastic, but John Mateer has been, I think he's their leading rusher on the season, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look at that real quick. Yeah, he's their leading rusher on the season by 11 yards. And I think they held him to something like 20 yards rushing in that game, and he'd been kind of eaten on the ground. He had 10 carries for 29 yards for John Mateer in that game. So they can stop the run. That's a good call, DJ. I'm going to give you one more before we move on to the next segment, and I'm not sure how I feel about it yet, but that's why it's called bold prediction. So we're going to be a little bold. I think that I think that the tight ends for Texas A&M score multiple touchdowns. It doesn't have to be one guy scoring multiple touchdowns, but I think the tight ends have more than one receiving touchdown in this game, because I think Texas A&M is going to be able to drive the field. I think they're going to get into the red zone, and I think it's going to be like a similar situation to the end of the Notre Dame game where they hit Borkacher in the end zone. I think he could get one. I think Theo Melanostrom could get one. I think Amari Niblack could get one. Any combination of that, I think, in the red zone, I think they have a shot to do that. So
that is something that I kind of had in the back of my head too. As soon as I said that the running backs weren't going to have a day, I was like, I'm feeling that the tight ends will. So I definitely agree that the tight ends are going to be a little bit more involved in this week. But especially seeing like Borkacher, and we haven't really seen much of Niblack this year. So it should be a game, I think.
Yeah, Amari Niblack has been kind of quiet, which has been surprising to me. I thought that him coming from Texas, he would have a little bit more of an impact. But, so far I think he has one catch. Yeah, one catch for 23 yards on the season. So hopefully he works his way in there and gets a couple more receptions. But I think the tight ends are going to – and the reason I believe this also, for a little more context, is I think Auburn is going to be so focused on Mario Craver and KC Concepcion and to maybe even the same extent Terry Bussey. Like, they're going to be so focused on that explosive wide receiver group that it might leave things a little bit open for these tight ends. All right. Let's move on to our next segment. When we come back, we're going to talk about some X factors here in this game for Texas A&M, and who we think is flying under the radar a little bit that could have a big impact in this football game from both sides. So stick with us, and we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep the game moving forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward it's got to be Marcel Reed, right, DJ? Hitting Nate Borkacher in the end zone to beat Notre Dame. It was the biggest win that Texas A&M has had in a long time. It's a historical win, especially considering it came on the road, and it put Texas A&M into the national conversation for the college football playoff. You could also argue that the muffed the muffed extra point by Notre Dame is one of them, but we're an Aggies podcast, so we're gonna give it to an A&M guy. And it was huge. It really made all the difference for Texas A&M. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Okay, so we are back and we are going to talk X factors. DJ and I were talking before the show, and X factor is kind of it's an interesting term. It can mean, who's going to be the star of the game, or it can mean a guy who is flying a little bit under the radar and perhaps going to surprise some people and make an impact on the game that, you weren't necessarily thinking about. We decided to go with the latter, somebody who's flying a little bit more under the radar. And I'm going to go first, DJ. All the talk with Auburn right now. I'm going to do Auburn first, and then we'll go to Texas A&M as our next pick. All the talk about Auburn is about Jackson Arnold. It's about Cam Coleman. It's about Eric Singleton. Those really, really explosive receivers and that really, really dynamic quarterback who can run the football extremely well. It almost sounds a little bit like Texas A&M, doesn't it? But nobody's really talking about Jeremiah Cobb, the Auburn running back. He didn't start the season as the main guy, and he's really emerged over the last few weeks. If you kind of look at his progression through the first part of the season, he had 16 carries against Baylor, 74 yards and a touchdown. Pretty good game. Then he exploded against Ball State for 121 yards and 2 scores, exploded against South Alabama for 119 yards and a touchdown. Only had 6 carries against Oklahoma for 61 yards. I think that they try to refocus their attack this week, put Jeremiah Cobb against a rush defense that's still struggling to stop the run. You saw what happened against Notre Dame. We've been talking about it all year. I think Jeremiah Cobb has a pretty big game here for Auburn. He's one of the reasons that they stay in this football game.
I completely agree. I think as long as Texas A&M football is coached by head coach Mike Elko, as long as we still have the same sort of linebacker core, the same defensive makeup that they have right now, I think we're going to be talking about whatever team's running back, no matter what team it is, they're going to be a factor in this game, just based on not necessarily how good the offensive line, how good the running back is, just how poor the Texas A&M rushing defense is. I think that's just going to be something that Texas A&M fans have to deal with.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, so give me yours for Auburn. Who's your X factor for Auburn?
I really, really wanted to say Cam Coleman because I feel like while he is a name, like you look at it and it's like he really hasn't done all that much to this point. I mean, even last season, he kind of like his numbers weren't where you'd kind of expect, elite wide receiver to be. So I think he'll definitely be one of those guys that kind of float under the radar just out of you look at their stats and it's like he hasn't really done as much as we thought he would.
Okay. Yeah, the stats so far this year, he's only got 13 catches through 3 games, or through 4 games, sorry, for 237 yards. Last week he made some superhuman plays, but he only had 3 catches. So I think you're right. I think that they're going to realize that A&M is a little bit vulnerable against the pass as well. They're going to try to exploit those matchups. So I like that one. All right, I'm going to give you mine for Texas A&M. Again, in terms of who you hear about all the time, right now it's all about Texas A&M's offense. Mario Craver, KC Concepcion, Le'Veon Moss, Marcel Reed, They're the talk of college football right now with how explosive they've been. I'm going with a defensive player. I'm going to say Dezz Ricks. You don't hear Dezz Ricks' name a lot, and there's a reason for that. When you don't hear a corner's name a lot, that's a good thing. That means he's not giving up plays. So far this season, Dezz Ricks ranks number 1 in all of college football in yards allowed by a corner with at least 10 pass attempts heading his way. He's given up a total of 7 yards this season when they throw his way. That's crazy. Another stat for you. He ranks 3rd in all of college football in catch rate against. 20%. 20%. That's pretty dang good. So I think Dezz Ricks does a fantastic job again in this game. I think he's matched up on Cam Coleman. So your X Factor and my X Factor are going head to head here. One of us is going to be right. One of us is going to be wrong. I think I'm going to be right, but you could be right. You never know. But give me your A&M X Factor, DJ.
I'm going to go with Terry Bussey. I think he's one of those guys that we haven't seen. Like we know what he can do. We've seen it. We saw it in his high school tape. We just haven't seen as much as we'd necessarily like. And I think this game, with all, like you said, all the focus being on, this A&M rushing attack, these dynamic wideouts in Conception and Craver, I think it's going to open the door for either Terry Bussey or Ashton Bethel Roman to really have a day in this game. Just out of pure, the focus is on everything else.
I like that. Terry Bussey is one of the most exciting players in this team when he does get the ball in his hands. He's really been outshined so far by Mario Craver and by Casey Concepcion. He only has 7 catches this season for 87 yards. He does have a touchdown. I believe that came against either Utah State or UTSA, one of those two. He's due for a breakout game, and I think this one could be it. I like that pick, DJ. All right. Let's take our next break. When we come back, we are going to go through our prop bets, over-unders, on yardages and touchdowns and those kinds of things. And then I'm also going to make DJ pick his score of the game because we don't have his pick for the game yet. So when we come back, we're going to do that. And so stick with us. Today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. DJ, I think the obvious choice here for the Notre Dame game, since A&M is coming off of a bye week, we go back and we look at Notre Dame and really the rest of the season. I think you got to pick Mario Craver. He's delivered in a big way. He's 3rd in the nation receiving, like I said earlier in the show, 443 yards. He's played 1 less game than the 2 guys above him, and I think he's averaging the most yards per game in the entire country, the 147.7 yards per game. And it's every week. It's been every week for this guy. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching, it hasn't been a fluke. He's getting open, he's making plays, and he's making the defense pay. So Mario Craver is definitely on a streak. And just like Craver has delivered for Texas A&M, DoorDash delivers for you on your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday on your order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day, only with DoorDash. Terms apply, promo period through 11/18. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. I've been eyeing that gamer bundle as well with the Apple Bash, the Pineapple Charge, and the Rocket Raspberry too. It sounds like the perfect one to try next because I like me some Call of Duty, and Battlefield's coming out soon. I'm going to need some energy to stay up late and on those game nights, so got to hit that. But enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store or online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. It's time to make some picks, DJ. Before we get into our prop bets, though, because I've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 different things, 9 different players that we're going to pick, but I want to get your pick for the game. I picked Texas A&M to win. I picked Auburn to cover. My score is 38-34. Closer than the experts think, as the great Lee Corso would say. What do you got for me, DJ? What's your pick?
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I think A&M's going to win, but I'm going to take A&M by 3. I think both offenses are going to be able to score. But I'm going to go A&M 38, Auburn 35.
Okay. So we're right there at pretty much the same score. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the prop bets. We're going to start with passing. Let's go with Marcel Reed, 247 and a half passing yards. Over under. I'm going to go over. He's just there's too many big plays that are happening in this Texas A&M offense. I think he's going to go over.
Yeah, I agree. I think Craver's going to have half of that on his own.
Yeah,
so
I
think he's definitely gonna hit that.
Okay, and then touchdowns for Marcel Reed, over under 1.5. I think over as well. Just same thing I said before. It's like, it's really hard to imagine that he's gonna not hit these receivers for multiple scores.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with that stout Auburn front seven, I think it's going to be mostly through the air.
Okay, let's move on to Jackson Arnold. 181 through the air, over under. I'm going to go over. I just think that this Texas A&M pass defense can be got. I think Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton are really, really good players. I don't think it's like, I'm not saying he's throwing for 300, but I think he's going to go over 185.5.
I feel like 185.5 is low for anybody.
Or 181.5, sorry.
Yeah, I still think that's low for anybody. I think he's going to hit that.
Okay, and then touchdowns, 1.5 touchdowns. I think under here. I think if they get in the red zone, they're going to run the football. I'm going to go under with the touchdowns. It's risky, but I'm going to go under.
I agree, but part of me is like I think they're gonna throw at least one. It's the half that's getting me. If it was just one, he's throwing one. I just don't know if he throws 2. I'm gonna go with the under on that one too.
All right, let's move on to rushing. We'll start with Texas A&M. Le'Veon Moss over under 67.5. I know that you think that they're going to shut down the running backs. I tend to agree. I'm going to say under 67.5. I think he gets I think he has some solid runs maybe, but I think his total is a little bit less. So I'm going to go under there.
I'm going to go under there too. I think he's going to be probably around the 40 to 50 range. And I'm not saying that out of, I think he's just going to be completely shut down. I think they're just going to try it. They're just going to keep trying each back and see if one of them works and just keep rotating them.
And does Le'Veon Moss get in the end zone? I say yes, actually.
I think Moss will.
Yeah. I think he just gets a goal line touchdown.
I think so. It's going to be the same thing we saw at Notre Dame. They get only one and give it to the big guy to punch it in.
Yeah. All right, Jeremiah Cobb, my X factor for Auburn. Over under 54.5. We'll do the touchdown to I think he gets over 54.5, and I think he scores a touchdown.
I think he's touching 70 and getting in the house.
Okay. Jackson Arnold now for Auburn. He's been one of the biggest running threats that they have so far this season. He's been tremendous on the ground. He got shut down by Oklahoma, but he also got sacked 9 times. So that kind of ate into his rushing total a little bit. Over under is at 43.5 in the touch and whether or not he scores a touchdown. I think he gets over, and I think he scores a touchdown.
I think we'll get over. I feel like A&M really hasn't faced a quarterback that moves as much as Arnold does this year. I think we'll get over, but I don't think he'll find the end zone.
Okay, so we're a little different there. All right, on to receiving yards. We're going to close it out with this. Mario Craver over under 74.5. He's averaging double that. So I'm going to say
74.5. That's laughable.
Yeah, that's
over.
that's the consensus on the Action Network right now with all the different. So yeah, 74.5.
Free money right there.
Yeah,
free money.
All right, KC Concepcion over under 58.5. I'm going over.
I'm taking the over on that one too.
All right, on to the Auburn side. Cam Coleman over under 54.5. So here's my question. Is Dezz Ricks going to be traveling with Cam Coleman? I don't know the answer to that. I don't think that's going to be the case, but so if that was the case, I would say under, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So I'm going to say he gets over 58.5.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just going to be on who's on him. If it's Ricks, then he's under. If he can get away from Ricks, then it's going to be under.
Yeah, and then Eric Singleton over under 44.5 or 44 even, not even 44.5. I think it's over. He's such an explosive guy. I think he might break one, so I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I was kind of having that same thought with him. All it takes is one, so I'll take the over.
Really, it really is just all it takes is one, and he's so explosive. All right, well, so we've got both DJ and I think that Marcel is going to go over 247.5 passing and over 2 touchdowns. Is that or over 1.5 touchdowns?
Yep.
We both think Jackson Arnold is going to do over 181.5. I have him. I think we both had him under on the touchdowns, right?
Yes.
I have Le'Veon Moss going over 67.5 yard rushing and scoring a touchdown. DJ has him going under and scoring a touchdown. We both have Jeremiah Cobb going over 54.5, and we both have him scoring a touchdown. Jackson Arnold, we both have over 43.5 rushing. I have him scoring a touchdown. Did you have him scoring a touchdown? You did not, right?
No.
And then we both have Craver going over 74.5. That's, like we said, free money. KC Concepcion over 58.5. Cam Coleman over 54.5. And Eric Singleton over 44. In other words, this is going to be a very offensive game that we watch on Saturday afternoon. It's going to be a good one. We'll be back next week to break it all down. Stars of the game, game balls, whatever you want to call it. How Texas A&M won, because we both think they're going to win. All the things in between the full in-depth breakdown next week, starting on Monday. But that's going to do it for another episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Hey, it's another big moment for Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Direct 12 Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. It's a college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday through the season, only on Fire TV. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast, download our podcast, like our podcast, everything in between. Give me a follow over on Texas A&M Aggies on SI and on X at Matt Galatzan. Follow DJ on X at DJ Burt and over at Texas A&M Aggies on SI. And we will see you next time. 74.5 for Craver is crazy.
It's ridiculous.